I've proven anybody.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. I did have one thought that because today's daf is daf nun. I think according to my calculation, we finished 10% of Shas.
Woo!
That's right. That's 10%. I don't know why that's a number, but it's 10%.
Well, see, in our scroll, we're at number 7 that we're about to finish, and there's, I think, 72 or 73.
There you go. So it's about 10%, which means we need to do 9 more of these, and then we're good to go. Right? We should all live and be well and healthy.
Amen.
Yeah.
Isn't today's daf test?
Whatever, Mam test, nun. Today's not Mam test, yeah, but I'm saying, but it's give or take. All right, so let's go, yeah? Okay, so there's the chazah from yesterday. I didn't post it. Right? Did I post? I didn't post it. Right? So we discussed all the water, whether it is, guys, please. We discussed all the water, if there's you need an erev, if the water, to split up the water, then there's a machlokes whether you get what 4 amas really means 8 amas and not 4 amas, but that only doesn't work for carrying. It only works for tchum. And then does the 4 if the 4 amas is subjective or not, meaning if somebody's taller, right? That was the tumult on the chat today. Very nice. Yeah, and then we have the whole asik with the 2 people combining with the one chatzah, 2 chatzeros. Yeah. And then on Amud basis putting erev chatzeros in 2 different boxes. Then we had kashas, and that's what we got up to. Okay, so the first part of today's daf is not easy. Okay, so basically we had said that the machlokes in the Mishna between Reb Shimon and the Chachamim was whether you need the machlokes is, can the 2 outer guys carry to the middle guy, and can the middle guy carry to the 2 outer guys? That was the machlokes, right? Yeah, the 2 outer chatzeros didn't make an erev with each other, but they made an erev with the middle guy. So what can you do with that? So we had said that the Chachamim said you could carry. The Chachamim said no. Reb Shimon said you could, and the Chachamim said you cannot. The outer guys, like Gershon pointed out, the outer guys can carry to the middle guy, but the middle guy can't carry to the outer guy. Now Shmuel changes the machlokes. He says on the bottom line. Shmuel, when I said this in front of Shmuel, right? Amar Li, he said to me, Af zu divrei Reb Shimon. Yes, that's what Reb Shimon holds, meaning what you're saying that they're not allowed, the middle guy's not allowed to carry to the outer guys. That's according to Reb Shimon. The Chachamim say shloshta nasuras, all 3 chatzeros are asur. I mean, he takes the whole machlokes and moves it up a notch, right? And he says everything is totally asur. Tani kapaseder of Yehuda libet Shmuel, Amar Rab Shimon, meaning we have a brisa that teaches us like Rabbi Yehuda, according to Shmuel's way of learning of Shimon. Lamada v'daima, the shalosh chatzeros hapsucha is zulazu. You have 3 yards, one open to each other. Psuchas v'shesram, and they're open to shesram. Irvushtayim imam tzayas. If 2 of them make an erev with the middle, zuma v'yah b'sach beisa v'aychelas, and zuma v'yah b'sach beisa v'aychelas. Right, each one can bring from their house and eat it. Right, each yard can do that. Zum machzeres ma'isra l'tzayt beisa, zum machzeres ma'isra l'tzayt beisa. Then each one could bring back the extras back to the house. But the Chacham say it's also. So you see clearly that Reb Shimon allows it one way, meaning the outer guys to the middle and not the middle guys to the outer. And the Chacham disagree, and they don't allow anything. But the Shmuel made on the Shmuel chatzah shebein shtei mavuis. Now if you have a chatzah in between 2 mavuis, okay, so basically this you have like in our street. Well, I guess our streets, right? Most people have a house in their backyard, and each one has a street in front of it, right? So you made an erev, right? Normal city streets are like a square block, right? And there's streets on all 4 sides. So let's say the 2 houses, right? There's houses, all the houses made an erev, so they can carry in their yards, right? But then they also have the option to carry out to the streets. Each one could carry out the front of the house to the streets. They made an erev in the backyard, and each one could carry out to the streets. Right? If you have a chatzah that's in between two mavuis, two streets, irba im shneim, right? So if you make an erev, right, with the two mavuis, right? Because again, there's two steps. You have eruv chatzeros, and then all the chatzeros that open up onto the street make an erev with the street. That's essentially what. I mean, we don't really do that nowadays because we have a city erev that goes around the whole city. But essentially, let's say you didn't use a city erev, right? And you wanted to carry across the street from your house. So you make an erev with all the houses on your side of the street, and then the people on the other side of the street make an erev with the houses on their side of the street, and then they go make one big erev so that they can cross the street, assuming it's not Rosh Hashanah, right? So if a chatzah that's in between two mavuis, irba im shneim, if he makes an erev with both asura, it's asur asura im shneim, then it's going to be asur with both, right? But if you didn't make an erev with both of them, aseres al shneim, then it's gonna make the other ones asur because he wasn't part of the erev. Right, so that's basically what you see from there. That if you didn't make the erev with each other, the two chatzeros on either side of the mavui didn't make a chatzah, didn't make a erev, so then they can't combine, they can't carry. And then the Brisa just finishes off. Let's say he's used to going out to one mavui, another one he's not. Also, the one that he normally goes to is also, and the one that he doesn't normally go to is mutter. Yes, one second. If he makes an eruv with the mavui that he doesn't normally go with, then he's going to be matter the one that he normally goes to, right? Meaning because by making an eruv with somebody that they're not normally with, so then they're just saying, okay, we have nothing to do with you, and this that they didn't combine. To be part of the eruv is no big deal because we don't want to be with you this Shabbos, right? Meaning the point of this whole Gemara is that if you show, if you're part of somebody's eruv and you forget or you don't give in, a piece of bread or whatever, you don't partake, then you're going to answer everybody on the eruv. But if you show that, this Shabbos, I want to be in a different part of the eruv, and then I'm not, and then I'm absolving myself from this whole deal, so then you're not going to answer on them. Fine. If he made an eruv with the one that he's normally used to doing it with, and the one he's not normally used to going with, he didn't make an erev. And the middle chatzah didn't make an erev with either one of them. Then you push him towards the one that you're not ragel to. And in this type of situation, right, a famous phrase that you're kaifen al midas sedayim, right? Meaning he has nothing to gain, right? Meaning the guy has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose by not being part of the eruv. So therefore, since we in that type of situation we say you would force him to meaning to benefit them if it doesn't cost them anything, right?
Mr. Yaakov.
Yeah.
The Goyen had a rule in Vilna; they should only call him when they had to discuss new business. Not in klal stuff. Otherwise, let them decide for themselves if it was something they already knew. So they sent shlichim. They needed him. They were having a meeting that night. They needed him for. So what was the meeting? The meeting was there was big unemployment in Vilna, and they wanted to make a rule that none of the men can come from the small shtetlich around Vilna to get jobs because they didn't have enough for the men in Vilna. So he said to them, "Why did you call me to this meeting?" They said, "Rebbe, because," he says, this is an old story. They did this since Daim. You don't have to need me for this. You don't need me to paskin this."
I hear. Very good. Very good. So, okay. Interesting. But, yeah, okay. So that's what we're saying here, that the eruv is not going to cost them anything. They're not going to lose anything by being part of somebody else's eruv. Okay. So, Amr Yehuda Shmuel, now we start new. So the last part was a difficult Gemara. Some of you don't know. Hamakbid al eruv ein eruv erev. Guy gives his bread, right? How do you make an eruv? Everybody gives in some bread to the pot, right, or matzah. One guy says, "I'm giving bread, but nobody's allowed to eat my bread," right? So he's a cheap guy. So if he does that, the Gemara says, Ein eruv. Erev is no good. Mashmai eruv shmai. What's it called? It's called an erev. Erev means a mixture. That means we're all in it together. Right? An erev means we're all together. If this guy says you can't eat my bread, so then how can you say that? So what do you call it? Chanina Amar eruv eruv. His erev is an erev. Ela shenikra me anshe vardina. We still allow it to be an eruv because Lamaisa he donated, he gave into the pot, but he's called from the Anshe Vardina, which is a people that that was I don't know if that's a country, a city, a family. I'm not sure what that is, but it's cheap people, cheap. They don't like to share. Fine. Somebody who splits up the eruv, right? It's not an eruv. Meaning we had this before. Like we had this yesterday. That's like Bishami. The Tanya Chamisha should go with Eruv. If 5 people gather the eruv together, and you put it into 2 different kalim, meaning normally you're supposed to put all the eruv, all the bread into 1 big pot. But here you don't. Right? So Chamisha should go with Eruv and Asnu b'shnei kalim. You put it into 2 different kalim. Bishami ain't eruv. It's not an eruv. But still, it is eruv. So you see that this is going according to Beishama, where you have to have all the bread together in 1 pot. You can't have it in separate pots. Afilu, so the Gemara says, Afilu teim Beis Hillel. You can even say it's Beis Hillel. Akan like Beis Hillel hasamel the malian lamana v'yasa. Where did Beis Hillel say that it's good? That's if you filled up. You had so much bread from people to be part of the erev that it spilled out of the pot, and now it's all around the pot. But where you split it up purposely, then that's no good because you have to have all the bread in the same basket or bucket or package or whatever it is. Why do we need 2 cases? Right? Shmuel said 2 cases. If one guy that donates to the erev is a cheap guy, so it ruins the erev, that's one. And then they also said if you split the erev into 2 different kalim. So if you said over there, that's because they were makbid, right? He's makbid. He didn't want anybody to eat part of his erev. But here they're not makbid. They just happen to have split the erev into 2 different packages. So you would think that's still going to be a kosher erev. But if you say that splitting it up into 2 different boxes, that's because you consciously went and split it. But over there where the erev is actually together. So what if one guy says he doesn't want to let anybody eat it? It wouldn't be a problem. So therefore you need both cases to tell you that in both cases the erev is no good. So again, if you put the erev into 2 different boxes, it's no good. And if you put the erev in, if one guy says nobody could eat from my erev, it's no good. I did not have a chance to look up how he passed on with this Gemara, so I'm not sure. Okay, so Amar Rav Yehuda b'bei matzarta b'bei Rav Zakkai. So Rav Abba told Rav Yehuda in the wine press of the Beit Rav Zakkai. Mi Amar Shmuel achayla kaseruba ein erev. Did Shmuel really say that if somebody splits up the erev, it's no good? Amar Shmuel b'ayishem b'nich b'erev ein tzarach litin as a pas. The house that the erev is actually kept in does not have to donate any bread. Meaning, so if you have a cheap guy who doesn't want to let anybody have his bread, so put the erev in his house. That means he doesn't have to donate. Right? All he has to do, you have the erev in his house, and that's enough. Now the Gemara is going to try and figure out my time out. Since when you put it into a basket, it's as if it's right here, right? Meaning it's with everything else. So too here, since it's put in the basket, it's as if it's here, right? So meaning, this person, we're assuming that the reason why the guy who the erev is kept in his house doesn't have to give it, right, is the same as having erevs in 2 separate boxes. So, and you see that it's okay. So maybe it's a kasha on Shmuel that he says it's not okay. No, there, even though there's no pas, my timer, the kulu hachadari. No, the reason there it works is because everybody's living in this house, right? So even though it's split up, but since everybody put their bread into this guy's house, so it's everybody is living in this house, and that's enough. That's enough, and the guy doesn't have to give in any bread. So Shmuel erev mishum kinyan. So now we get into a lumdisha, achraynisha, like what the achraynim we discussed. How does an erev work? Right? What is the lumdis behind an erev? Right? So Shmuel erev mishum kinyan. An erev works like a kinyan. Meaning every person, when I go and put my bread into your house, it's as if I'm buying part of your house, right? So then, so if that's the case, so it's a kinyan. So then, why do we have to give bread? Why can't I give money? Why can't everybody just give money instead of having this whole complicated thing with bread? Everybody give $1, and then that's it. That's an erev too. Meaning, if the bread means that you're purchasing part of the guy's house, and then give money. Right? I don't think there is enough kamina. It's probably
what's
money.
bothering the Gemara?
What?
What's bothering the Gemara?
Oh, just
$1 easier than $1 easier than a piece of bread.
Dollars might be easier for you, but not everybody has $1. They have the bread.
Hanami, but the bottom line is that's the Gemara is really going to discuss that. But the Gemara is really asking, so, okay, so why not? Why not at least have the option of doing money too?
Because if you put money on the side of the road for
No, it's not tchum. We're talking
I know,
about
but if you mix the two things up, maybe they want one thing.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe money should work for that too.
But it's not going to be there. There are other kinyonim that work with money. They don't work with food. It's muktzah.
Money is the number one
Money is
kinyan. That's
muktzah
true.
on
That's a
Shabbos.
good point. Money is the number one kinyan.
Money is muktzah on Shabbos.
You don't need to eat it on Shabbos. You just need to have it there before Shabbos.
So you need to have something to do with Shabbos. Food is
he's getting chumin and chatzeros mixed up.
Yeah, but he's trying to compare the two. Okay, whatever it is. So the Gemara is thinking that why not money? You at least have more options. So he said, maybe that's what you're answering. Because it's not matzui. Not everybody, you run out of your money. See, it's a raya. Spend all your money for Shabbos. Because money is not matzui on Erev Shabbos. Right? So then bread is, right? Food is. So they said money. So then if that's the case, good. So let's say they did make an erev with money. If that's the case, then you should be kind of. So you say, no, because then people are going to say that money is the main way to do an erev and not bread.
Mr. Yaakov,
yeah.
Are we ready for halacha l'maaseh? How do they do the? What do they do with the police chief or the mayor, whichever?
No, that's a different thing. No, the police chief and the mayor.
This?
That's not this. This is when right. This is the box of matzahs that they have in the aguda. At least last I checked, it's in the aguda somewhere. You find out what's going on shalashudas in the aguda. Make sure it's still there. But this is where all the yidden are getting together. What you're talking about is to rent the streets from the goyim because. But the
fact that the yidden got together means nothing right now. It means nothing.
Because why? Well,
because they didn't get from all the yidden.
No, but they do it as Excuse
me, Dev, to have crazy people like me who don't want
to be part of the Eruv.
So what?
So they cut you out. They cut you out.
They did.
It's not so. It's grada, not so pasha. You could do that. It's really not pasha. It's not pasha. If a guy wants to be neged the Eruv, he might have a way to do it. Now, do you say kaifin al midas time? That's a different thing because, but Lamaisi says halachically, it's not pasha. In Brooklyn, it's a big issue. Yeah, but enochanami. So yeah, but whatever it is, and then the Gemara says, so they might say that the money is the ikr, and then sometimes you won't have money. The asi pass. The asi eruv and then they're gonna happens is they're gonna stop making eruv chatzeros. And then there's going to be a kilkul in erev chatzeros because they're going to say you only need to do with money, and they're not going to have bread, and then they're going to stop making erev chatzeros. See that Rashi says l'shtakach teiros erev. I'm not sure what this means. Does this mean that people are going to carry anyways, or are they just not going to do an erev? Right? Meaning good, so they won't carry. They won't carry. They won't do an erev. But to me, it sounds like there was no chashash that the people are going to use the erev anyway. There was just going to be nishtakach, the whole Torah of erev of klai. So you see from here that it's important to have an erev. Why can't you just say, don't use the erev? No. So clearly that there is an important factor to having an erev.
See, Yaakov, when I was growing up a long time ago, so there was many men who used the non-existent erev because they grew up in Europe. All their towns, they grew up in Europe. There was erev. They didn't know you can't carry glasses and a handkerchief and a chveis. They had no idea. They had no idea.
Yeah, that's a problem.
From men.
Yeah. Well, what you think? This door has any idea? This door has no idea. The kids nowadays have no idea this is mamash. Yeah. Rabba Amar, Eruv Mishum Dira. So Rabba says no. So the first shita was that it's kinyan. Rabba says no, Eruv Mishum Dira, meaning you're living, when you give bread, so then you make it like you're living in that person's house. My benai, what will be the difference between the two cases? You can now kli, upachas mishava pruta. right, is a kli, right? Let's say you use a kli instead of bread, right? You can do a kinyan with a kli. That's one thing, but living l'chara would not be with a kli. Pachas v'shava pruta. Let's say you gave less than a shava pruta of money, right? So if bread is worth less than a shava pruta, who cares, right? Yes. One second. Right. So if you say it's kinyan, if you say the bread is a kinyan, so it's less than shava pruta, is no good. But if you say the bread is to live, then it's not. Then it's fine, right? So those are two nafkaminas. Then on Talmud Beis, the katan and a katan, right? Let's say a katan, right? Oh, you made a katan into a shliach to make the erev. So if it's a kinyan, so then that doesn't work. If it's just a dira, so why can't you have the katan make you live by somebody else? Why can't it be a shliach? Fine, that's a very long Gemara. Amar le Abai le Rabba l'didach kasha l'shmuel kasha. To you is a kasha and to Shmuel is a kasha. Meaning both shittas, whether it's for dira, for living, or it's kinyan. L'shmuel kasha had tanya chamisha shegavu es Eruvan kishehem malichin es Eruvan l'makam acher echad ma'ilach l'kulan. So now let's say you have 5 people that collected an erev. So basically, using our example of you have yards that are bordering on each other. So everybody makes an erev in yard number 1. Then the people from yard number 1 decide, you know what? We want to make an erev with yard number 2. So does everybody in yard number 1 need to be asked if they want to combine with number 2? No. What you could do, the Gemara is here saying, is just send one guy and finish, and then he represents everybody else, right? So Gemara says, who knew the Gakani? He's the one that's going to be kind of a sulai, and nobody else, because if you say it's kinyan, it's only that guy. Who knew the Kadai of a sulai? He himself, the guy who goes and combines with yard number 2, he's going to be the guy that's living with them, and not everybody else. So the teretz I think is pashut. So I don't understand the havamina.
Why is that different than before we said yesterday with your neighbor over here? That you couldn't come here.
No. Here he went and he took it and he added another yard. After everybody made an erev together, then he went and added another yard to it. The Gemara is saying that only one person has to go and do it, not everybody.
And everyone can carry it.
Yes. So Gemara is asking, how do you do that? If it's a kinyan, only the guy that went over there is doing the kinyan. Nobody else. Everybody else is sitting at home. They're not doing any kinyan. And if it's al dira, only the guy that went there is living there, not everybody else. So then the Gemara gives a pasha the teretz. It's not a kasha, not to me, not to Shmuel. Shlichus the kuluk of it. He's a shliach for everybody else. Isn't that? Wouldn't that what everybody would say? He's being the shliach. The Gemara's havamina. It seems like he was not the shliach. He was acting on his own. I don't know. Okay, so Amar Rav, Amar Chama Barburi, Amar Rav, halacha Reb Shimon. The halacha is like Reb Shimon, and therefore the middle ones can carry to the outer ones. The outer ones, meaning Shimon, not according to. This is Rav. So it's Rav according. Rav is obviously saying his sheet. Shmuel disagrees, but Rav is saying the halacha is like Reb Shimon in my shita, which means that the outer yards can carry to the middle yard, and the middle yard can carry to the outer yard. Yeah.
The matzahs that are in the Aguda now, that's for what erev is that?
That's for the Farakwe Lawrence Eruv.
Where's the Farakwe erev go to?
Farakwe Eruv goes officially to Rockaway Turnpike.
Rockaway Turnpike. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but on the other side.
Oh, on the other till Bayswater.
Till Bayswater.
Well, it's somewhere. It's a Mott Avenue.
Yeah, okay.
Give or take. Okay, so Zog the Mishnah, yeah? Misha Baba Derech, so somebody's traveling, and it got dark on him. And he sees a tree or a fence. And he says, Shvisasi Tachtov, let my Shabbos be under that tree. Meaning, he wants to make an erev visually. Again, he's 1,000 amas away from this tree. It's already by the Shkia. Therefore, he wants to be able to walk further. So if he doesn't make any erev, he's going to just get 2,000 amas where he is. But if he makes erev under the tree, he'll get whatever amount. He'll get 2,000 amas from the tree. So he says, I'm making my erev under the tree. So the Mishna says, Layom Maklum, he said nothing.
Dibur? This is only with Dibur?
Oh, so right now the Gemara is saying it would be just with Dibur, with visual Dibur. It has to be visual and deeper. But the Gemara is saying that the Mishna is saying it's no good, which we'll see in the Gemara why it's not. But the pshat is because he didn't specify a place. It's too vague an area to be under a tree. Right? That's the first case.
Isn't that why it says a landmark such as a tree? I'm saying it's not.
Right,
is that stam a tree?
When you say no, and when you say under a tree, there's a lot of space there, and you were not specific enough. Right? Then he says shvisasi bi karoi, but if he says that his shvisa is on the ikar of the tree, meaning the trunk, right? Then that works. Mahalach mimakam ragla bad ikroi afayim ama. Then he can go from where he is up until the tree 2,000 amas. Meaning, if that tree is further than 2,000 amas, then obviously he can't do that. And then from that tree, from the trunk of the tree till his house is another 2,000 amas, and then he's good. He can go 4,000 amas. Right, but if he doesn't recognize, that's an interesting notion in the Mishnah. He doesn't recognize the tree, right? Meaning he doesn't, either there's no tree there, or he doesn't see it, or he's not a baki ba'alacha, so he doesn't know he could do this, right? So therefore he doesn't say anything. And he says, my shis is going to be right here. His makam is 2,000 amas in every direction. Yeah. Agulos. Now, this is an important point that's going to come up later on. Now, how do you look at 2,000 amas? Is it a circle, meaning wherever he's the middle of the circle, he gets 2,000 amas anywhere from there, but it would be a perfect circle, right? That's Reb Chanina ben Antigonus. The Chachamim say, and this is what we paskin, is that you square it off, meaning you get 2,000 amas, let's say north, south, east, and west, and then whenever those 2,000 amas are, we've mentioned this a couple times, you then draw a line, right? You draw a line around the circles. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking the 2,000 amas as a circle, and then you're drawing a square around it. This gives you a lot more. It gives you a lot more
space.
Area, because you get all the middle there. So I don't.
Not the middle. You get the corners.
What?
You get the corners.
You get the corners. Yes. There's a ratio. That I don't know what's the ratio. Anybody remember what the ratio is?
Pi?
Not pi.
You get 1 2/5 extra.
1 and 2/5 extra. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that's what it is. Yeah. So zuhi sha'amru ha'ani ma'ara baraglu. This is what we mean that an ani can make an erev with his feet. We had this a couple of blot ago, right? Because since he's an ani, he doesn't have to use food. The guy ani, he doesn't have food, so he can make an erev just using his mind and saying he's living someplace else. Amar Meir, anu ein lanu ela ani. No, we say only an ani can do this. Somebody who has money has got to do with bread. Whether it's an ani, whether it's an usher, lo yamru ma'arim v'pas, ela lahokal ala usher shelo yetze v'yar baraga. And Rabbi Yehuda says it works for everybody, whether they're poor or whether they're rich, because we only said bread to make it easier on the rich guy, right? That he doesn't have to actually walk out there. But lemaisa, making an erev by walking out there works for everybody, right? Fine. Let's just see the Gemara. Okay, I guess let's stop here. We'll have to start the Gemara anyways from tomorrow night.
A good gebet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matzah Yom Tov. What time?
Oh, Matzah Yom Tov.
9 o'clock.
Now, what time is this man?
Oh.
50,
1 second. Fiakov, you have a thing by you, no? Or your mother?
We usually have a get together. It's going to be outside. But it doesn't start till like an hour and a half after this man. To me, 8:45 would be best. I would say 8:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's around what time is Shkia? 47.
7:45. Everybody's done already.
Yes. Okay. So that's an hour after this man. That should be enough time to recover, smoke cigarettes, whatever it is that you're smoking, and recover.
72. 7:54 is 72.
Okay. So that's about around a quarter.
Okay. 8:45 is perfect. No.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Everyone should have an evening meaningful fast. Thank you, Chuck. Safe. Be well.
No. A little bit this summer.